I'm Renee Williams.
And I'm Billy Thomas.
And welcome to another edition of From the Woods Today.
You know, Billy, in Kentucky, we have had one extreme to the next of weather that has occurred, from flooding, to tornadoes, depending on what end of the state you live on. It's really been a year of extreme weather, and actually it seems to be, I don't know, the weather seems to be getting a little more crazy every year.
Yeah, no doubt. And it certainly has big implications for our woodland owners and those that are trying to enjoy or manage or care for woodland resources and maybe the wildlife that lives on them. So that weather can have a huge impact on them. Fortunately, today we have Matt Dixon on with us. Matt's a meteorologist here at UK, and he's going to be talking about extreme weather that we're kind of maybe have been dealing with, maybe potentially going forward. I know weather is always such an engaging topic for so many people, and we're really glad to have Matt join us here today. And then after Matt, we're going to have Laurie Thomas talking about the tree of the week. But Matt, to see you joining us now, glad to have you with us. So how's the weather treating you?
Right.
It's pretty chilly this morning. I walked in my office. It was even 63 degrees in here. So, it feels like winter has arrived after we were in the 70s, 80s last week. So,
right.
Quite the hit. So,
yeah,
definitely.
We always say, if you don't like the weather in Kentucky, wait a few minutes and it'll change, right?
It'll change on you.
Folks, if y'all got questions for Matt, you can use the chat function. If you're on YouTube, you can hit us up via email at forestry.extension@uky.edu, and we can try to respond that way. But Matt, so glad to have you with us. Thanks for being part of the show today.
Appreciate it, everyone. So as they were saying earlier, extreme weather has been no stranger to the bluegrass state over the past couple of years. We had the tornadoes across western Kentucky, some strong ones across south central Kentucky. One went through Bowling Green. We had the eastern Kentucky flooding. We've had some minor disasters. I say minor in quotations because the impacts are still very much there, but these disasters keep on occurring. And with a warmer climate in place, it looks like frequency is going to continue to increase in the years to come. But disasters don't discriminate. Woodland owners will be impacted too. I'm sure many of you have already been impacted from some of these natural disasters across the state. I'm going to show you a little bit about Kentucky's history when it comes to natural disasters, some of these over the past couple of years, and maybe what we can expect going in the future. Talk about some resources available from the UK Ag Weather Center to keep you all safe. And I also want to go a little bit into storm surveying from the National Weather Service. So just to get started, Kentucky history is just littered with these events. It doesn't matter where you are across the state, you're going to be impacted at some point or another. I've been giving these presentations to several agents over the past month or so. And I always say it's not a matter of if we see another major natural disaster, but when. But some of these examples on here, the Great Flood of 1937, this was taken near Louisville, Kentucky. They saw 15 inches of rain in 12 days. 70% of Louisville was submerged underwater. There's pictures of Churchill Downs underwater at the time. The river crested 30 feet above flood stage. So you got this odd looking picture here. No, horses can't climb trees. But you can imagine the horse got caught up in that flooded water, then got caught up in a tree. The water receded, and we'll take an average guy 6 feet tall, 6, 12, 18 feet to the hind legs, 24 feet to the head. A lot of water in a short period of time. 15 inches of rain in 12 days, just to put in perspective, we average about 50 inches per year for the state of Kentucky nowadays. The Easter freeze 2007 was an agricultural disaster for the area. We had a biological explosion at the end of March, had temperatures busting into the 70s and 80s. Then we got to the first week of April, and we had a strong cold front move through, and temperatures absolutely plummeted. We had low temperatures in the teens, just decimated agriculture at the time. Fruit trees were already going into bloom. Winter wheat was moving into advanced developmental stages. Corn and beans was going in the ground. And then this cold wave came in and just decimated all that agriculture across the area. Something that impacts all the woodland owners across the state are these ice storms. January 2009 was a pretty significant one. I shouldn't say pretty, it was a significant one for Western Kentucky. 1 to 2 inches of ice accumulation across that area. Folks without power for 2 weeks at a time. For some of those rural areas, the same thing happened in 2003 for the Bluegrass area. And I will say Eastern Kentucky got hit pretty hard. It was February 21. Eastern Kentucky saw 3 ice storms in a row. And then at the end of that month, everything started melting. Combine that with a 2 to 3 inch rainfall event, there was significant flooding across the area. Now, everyone remembers the December 10th, 2021 tornado outbreak across Western Kentucky. By and large, probably one of the top 3 tornado outbreaks ever to occur in the United States occurred in 1974, April 3rd and 4th. This was called the super outbreak. There was 148 tornadoes confirmed over 13 states. One of those tornadoes was an F5, the only F5 tornado confirmed in Kentucky and Kentucky's history. That was in Brandenburg, Kentucky. And a unique statistic about this event is we had one EF4 back in 2021. Guess how many EF4 at the time it was F4, F5 tornadoes they saw back in 74? It was actually 30. So 30 of those monsters we saw over Western Kentucky, they saw across this region back in 74. Now, something else I'll say is, history tends to repeat itself. I talked about the 2009 ice storm, the 2003 ice storms, the ice storms in 21. We'll see them into the future. They're not going away. This flooding, it's not going away. This happened 37. We saw significant flooding across Eastern Kentucky in July of 2022. We saw significant flooding this past summer in Mayfield, Kentucky. This photo was taken in 1937, this horse in a tree. This photo was taken from Beattyville, Kentucky by Natasha Lucas, our UK Ag Extension Regional Director. When they had significant flooding after those ice storms. That's a cow stuck up in a tree. So history tends to repeat itself. We need to be prepared. We need to have a plan put together for our own specific ag operations moving forward, be prepared for these events moving into the future. Looking a little bit more at that December tornado, this picture in the upper left-hand corner, this is radar imagery taken every 15 to 20 minutes of that supercell thunderstorm, rotating thunderstorm, moving through Arkansas, the Missouri Boot Hill, up through Kentucky. Now, what a lot of people may not know is this tornado was on the ground for 80 plus miles through Arkansas and into the Missouri Boot Hill. It actually lifted for a short time in northwestern Tennessee, then hit the ground again in Fulton County and progressed for 165.7 miles all the way to Breckenridge before it lifted again. Now, 80 plus some odd miles through Arkansas, the 165 in Kentucky. This would have been the world record for the longest track tornado ever seen. But since it did lift, it's now pushed into 2 separate tracks. Since it did lift, the world record still stands with the 1925 tri-state tornado that was on the ground for 219 miles through Missouri, southern Illinois, and lifted in southwest Indiana. But this thing was a monster. 190 mile per hour winds surveyed in Bremen, Kentucky, Mayfield, and Dawson Springs. Wasn't quite as strong across other portions of the track. In Princeton, Kentucky, I shouldn't say quite as strong. It was still strong, but 170 miles per hour at our UK Research and Education Center there in Princeton, Kentucky. This is what 170 mile per hour winds did to this borderline brand new F-350. It had 6,000 miles on it, crumbled it up like a piece of garbage. Now, it doesn't take an EF4, EF5 tornado to do this kind of damage. I have a cousin that works on a farm over in southeastern Kentucky, and they had an EF1, a strong EF1 tornado touch down on their farm in late March this year and actually decimated 90% of their equipment. But it pushed a I shouldn't say push. It lifted a 30,000 plus pound semi on top of a field planter. And again, that was an EF1 tornado. If you look down here at the scale, it ranges from an EF0 to an EF5. EF1, again, I'll put in quotations, is a relatively weak tornado, but strong, very strong nonetheless. This picture over in on the right here, this was taken from Ben Rudy, the A&R agent in Fulton County. That's actually a corn stalk wedged into a tree. So this just shows the power of these tornadoes, what they're capable of. I'm going to show you guys an image of some of the wooded areas next to our Princeton Research Center here in a few more slides, but just imagine the strength it takes to wedge a corn stalk into the side of the tree. And he sent me a video of this. He hit that corn stalk and it wasn't hardly budging. So significant power with these tornadoes. The July flooding, standing water can be an issue for woodland areas also. But this was a 1,000-year rainfall event. Another way to put that, there was a 0.1% chance of this amount of rainfall occurring over any 5-day period throughout the year. 0.1% chance. There was a 99.9% chance this event was never going to happen, but it did. And unfortunately, these 1,000-year rainfall events are occurring with more frequency in this warmer climate we've been seeing over the past decade. A fact about it, warmer air or warmer climate, warmer air can hold more moisture in the atmosphere, thus leading to more significant storm intensity. But in this case, they had rainfall rates of 4 inches per hour, numerous flash flood warnings issued, some upgrade to flash flood emergencies, the highest total of 14 inches in southern Knott County. That led to significant flooding in the Jackson area. You can see some of the images there. What this amount of rainfall is capable of. Now, the thing is, this storm, we saw Mayfield see quite the storm this past July. There was a 1,000-year event back in, I believe it was 2022, just west of Nashville. You may have seen that in the national news of Loretta Lynn's ranch getting decimated. But these events are occurring with more frequency, and Eastern Kentucky took the brunt of this event, obviously. I remember driving out there and talking to my wife about it. 10 inches of rain on every square inch of these mountains, it has to go someplace, and gravity's taken in one direction. But 10 inches of rain in 6 hours, that will decimate the Lexington area. That will decimate Bowling Green. You name it. Infrastructure can't hold or handle this amount of rainfall, and these woodland areas be the same way. But so something to think about as we're moving into the future. Now, looking at something that could decimate some of these woodland areas, this is a look at the August 2021 derecho that occurred up in Iowa and Illinois. This is basically a long-lived windstorm with very intense winds on the leading edge of this line moving through. And this is a straight line wind event, unlike tornadoes that throw everything around in different directions. This is straight line winds. Everything is bent down in one direction. So you can see the corn here in this lower left-hand picture, bent down all in the same direction. This was right ahead of harvest that year, and it did that damage to the grain bins. Did just the same amount of damage to trees in the area. So 70 to 80 miles per hour over a large portion of Iowa and central Illinois, some over 100. Cedar Rapids got to 140. So we've seen derechos in the past. They're rare. But they do happen. We do see quite a few what we call squall lines move through each year. Squall lines maybe less intense compared to these derechos move through, but can be very damaging in themselves. I'm going to show you guys some pictures of one of those squall line events here in a second. But again, the past year, again, we've seen some disasters, maybe not to the extent of impacts as we saw with the tornadoes across Western Kentucky and the flooding in Eastern Kentucky, but still very impactful nonetheless. The December 2022 Arctic blast last year, we were all getting ready for Christmas time, and here comes a very strong Arctic front. We had temperatures drop 20, 30, 40 degrees in a matter of hours. We went below zero, and then we had wind chills on top of it of minus 20 to minus 30 degrees below zero, pipes bursting and whatnot. But I did notice, and I'm not the specialist in this. This would be Renee or Billy or whatnot, but I did see a lot of vegetation was impacted after this event also, just with the extent of that cold air and how quickly it moved into the area. The July 19th, 2023 Western Kentucky flooding, this broke the 24-hour rainfall record. Mayfield, Kentucky saw over 11 inches in 24 hours. So significant stuff. They got hit by the tornado. Then they got hit by this flooding event. Downtown Mayfield underwater. You can see what it did to roads there. And something that probably impacted woodlands across the state was the March 3rd, 2023 windstorm. This was a very strong, a record-breaking low pressure system moved through the area. The lower the pressure, the more intense the winds are going to be associated with these guys. You can think about hurricanes out in the Atlantic Ocean, very intense low pressure, very high winds. We basically had a category 1 hurricane over the state of Kentucky for a few hours, 70, 80 miles per hour winds just consistently. This happened early March. There were a ton of pine trees down across the Lexington area, but power outages across the state. If I remember right, it was one of the more significant power outage events the state has ever seen. I think the last one that may be in that same ballpark was when Hurricane Ike moved through the area, the remnants of that system in 2008. So these events keep on coming. Kentucky, again, is no stranger to these disasters. And just looking into the future, it looks like they're going to continue coming our way, and just shows the need. We need to prepare, have a plan in place if these were to happen. So one way to track these disasters is through the National Centers for Environmental Information. They keep track of billion-dollar weather and climate-related disasters. This data goes back to 1980. We are through October in 2023, got 2 months left. The United States has already seen $24 billion weather and climate related disasters in 2023. So 24, that's a record for the most disasters in a year. Again, we still have 2 months left. One of those included on here happened here in Kentucky, that March 3rd windstorm that passed through the area. So these events are happening with more frequency, not only with our changing climate, but populations is increasing, people moving into more rural areas that were otherwise uninhabited for a long time in the past. So moving on to some charts real quick, just to show you this frequency on the increase. This is the number of billion-dollar disasters that have affected the state of Kentucky since 1980, 85 in total. You can see most have came way by severe storm at 52. I went back and updated this chart. If we have any agents on, you may see the numbers are a little bit different. I updated this this morning, but 52 by severe storms. Call me crazy. You see tropical cyclones on here. The key word is we're a part of these disasters. So if Katrina hits the southeastern coast, the remnants of that system make its way into Kentucky, we're a part of these disasters. But by far here in the state of Kentucky, severe storms is what we have to deal with. Now, if we look at these by decade, the 1980s, we saw 9. 1990s 11, 2000s 21, 2010s 24. You can see the number of these disasters are increasing in frequency. Just the last 5 years, 2018 to 2022, we're at 15. Of course, we added another one this past March with that windstorm. So quite a few of these disasters occurring, especially the past decade here in the state of Kentucky and across the U.S. Now, something I wanted to mention is surveying the storm, going out after the storm. Be safe whenever you initially go out. Wait till that tornado warning has expired. Stay in your safe shelter until that warning's expired. If it's an ice storm, don't get out on those roads until it's safe to do so. I would even suggest wait until that ice has melted before going into those woodland areas. The Department of Forestry has a nice article about storm damage, and they talk about down power lines, storm debris, those widow makers walking into these wooded areas. These images over here on the left were taken from Lexington, and I believe it was someplace out in eastern Kentucky, the bottom photo, after that 2003 bluegrass ice storm. Power lines down. I go out on storm surveys with the National Weather Service after some of these tornadic events. We have power lines down. You have to be extremely careful. That photo in the bottom right was taken out at Princeton, Kentucky, the day after that tornado went through. Now, it's hard to see, and this picture doesn't do it justice, but we talk about storm debris up there. There was all types of aluminum, roofing, you name it, out in those wooded areas. We found one of our work trucks in a wooded area not too far away from our main building there in Princeton, Kentucky. So you have to be extremely careful when you go into these damaged areas. I remember walking around the Princeton facility. There was metal popping out from every which direction. You did not want to slip, or it would have been bad news. I remember seeing people that day. I personally, I don't like talking about it, but you slip and fall. I saw people bleeding. You want to be extremely careful, to say the least, and consider wearing a hard hat when you initially go into these wooded areas. That ice, that's a lot of weight on those trees. You can see those trees bending over that road there in the bottom left picture. So you never know when one's ready to break and fall to the ground. But to go along with storm surveys, if it's a damaging wind event, straight line winds, tornado damage suspected, go ahead and call your National Weather Service office and let them know about it. They use this for research purposes. They'll send out some meteorologists to do a damage survey. If we have a tornado move through, if we have a weather station up, it's going to be gone. So we can't directly measure how intense the winds were associated with that event. Even straight line wind events, it's hard to get a measure of how strong the winds were because we probably don't have a station there. But the National Weather Service will come out after the storm. They have different damage indicators, whether that's a single family residential home, a hospital, an apartment complex, or in this case, softwood trees or hardwood trees. And based on the extended damage, they can give an estimate of peak wind speeds associated with that damage. And then they take those estimated peak wind speeds and they can associate it with the enhanced Fujita scale, which is down here in the bottom right corner, or a damaging wind event. They asked me to go out and help out with a straight line wind event north of Lexington, I guess it was. But I went into this semi-wooded area and just look at the damage. All the woods were pushed down the same direction, pointing to a straight line wind event. It was clear to me. But these were pine trees over on the left. The top of the trees were just absolutely snapped off. I believe this was a hardwood tree over on the right that was uprooted. But they have these damage indicators down here in the bottom right, and the estimated winds it would take to do this type of damage. I think with this event, we put an estimate of 90 mile per hour straight line winds. But if you ever have damage in these wooded areas, please call the National Weather Service. They'll be happy to come out and give it a look and give you an estimate of what the damage was like. So moving on, or I should say closing up with weather UK Ag Weather Center resources available to you all. I do push out it's called the UK Ag Weather Update. This is a newsletter I try to send out every week or two, bi-weekly at the latest, but I talk about the current weather conditions, what we've seen in the past, what the forecast is like moving forward. During severe weather situations, I try to send out a quick update and give folks an overview of what they can expect, whether that's winter weather, whether that's a tornado outbreak, you name it. But again, the signups there in the QR code, I can share this with the Forestry group afterwards if you'd like to sign up. But lastly, I wanted to give you guys a sneak peek. Again, I showed this to all the agents the past month, but this is available to anyone across the state. We're making a new smartphone weather app in the Ag Weather Center. We've had a lot of folks asking us to do this, and we got some funding from Extension earlier this year. We got some extension from another resource recently. And I have a meeting on this afternoon. We're hoping we're able to publish this to the app stores maybe in the next 2 to 3 weeks, hopefully sooner than that. It really looks like we're about ready to go live with phase 1. But this is a look at the iOS version of the app. Simple navigation down at the bottom of the screen. Based on your GPS location or set location, you can set up to 16 locations. You get the current conditions for that area. You get the forecast moving forward, both hourly and daily forecast. I have Ag Weather page. This will be updated with Ag Weather Center tools and models in phase 2, but right now it's pointing to the Ag Weather update. Nice looking radar. We're paying for this radar feed. It's a high resolution radar. You can zoom in, zoom out, zoom right into your farm, your woodland area if you'd like. You can overlay it with watches and warnings. You can overlay it with storm vectors if you want to see the direction of motion, if you want to be a weather nerd like me. And then some resources for extension disaster preparedness and recovery. I'm sure we'll be adding some information for woodland owners on this in the months ahead. But so last slide here, I hope this works for you all. I'm putting into motion some videos of what the iOS, Apple version, and Android version of the app looks like as it sits now. We're playing through this, Apple on the left, Android on the right. But again, current forecast conditions, you'll get a look at the high resolution radar. Something that I didn't mention is this is another source of getting warning. So if there's a severe weather event, we always tell folks to have multiple sources to receive warning information. Many people may have a no weather radio. They may be looking to Bill Meck or Chris Bailey on the TV here in Lexington, wherever you are across the state. But this app will be capable of sending out tornado warnings if the National Weather Service issues one for your area. Tornado watches, severe thunderstorm watches, you name it. We want you to be prepared. So if there is a warning or watch, it will buzz your phone. It will ring on your phone to let you know. Personally speaking, I've been using a little bit. I get lightning alerts. So if you're in the wooded area, we want to get out of those areas if we have lightning around. So gives you a quick ring on your phone, lightning in the area. I got one this past couple of days with the freeze warning in place. Lastly, there's no ads on this thing. So we're getting funding from Extension, some other resources. That was one of the keys whenever we developed this app. We didn't want to be like the Weather Channel, AccuWeather or anything else. We want to make our own thing, make it ag specific, put that emergency preparedness spin on it. But that's where we're at right now. So I'll play these again, but that's what I got, folks. If you have any questions, let me know.
Matt, that's some good stuff you've got there.
Definitely.
Really interesting. I was signing up for your updates there just a moment ago. So hopefully
Awesome.
QR code as
Yeah,
well.
I think this could really help a lot of people. Not having ads is a wonderful thing too, because a lot of times they'll get in the way of something that you're trying to actually see. So, and you said this will be out when?
So we're hoping phase one's out in the next two weeks or so. I again, I have a meeting this afternoon on it. I'm going to play around with it for the next week, make sure everything's working properly, and then we'll be publishing to the app stores. Just to let you guys know when it's out, pay attention to that ag weather update that I've been pushing on again a weekly bi-weekly basis, and I'll give all the information on there. So
that's very cool.
Yeah.
I appreciate you putting that together for us, and it's so exciting to see. We're having our own little thing here in Kentucky that we can really use and tailored for our audience. So yeah, appreciate your efforts on that, man.
Yeah, I think I think we're the only university across the nation that'll have something like this. So
That is really
we'll see where we can take it. I've said the possibilities are endless with this thing. So
hey, speaking of endless possibilities, we're helping the Kentucky Maple Syrup Association, put on a maple school this coming weekend down in Berea, and that's a thing that the maple producers or syrup producers are really kind of curious about, those freeze thaw kind of periods in the winter when we get that sap rising. So maybe we can work with you down the road to figure out something where you can kind of forecast for us or something like that.
Most definitely, that's what I'm here for. So.
Yeah, that'd be great. No, I really appreciate all you're doing for us and all of our producers across the state.
Definitely greatly appreciate your presentation, and maybe we'll get you back on and talk about winter weather updates that might be coming on.
Yes.
Yeah, and we want to get you back for that app too when it's up and running.
Definitely.
So we'll get you another plug for that for everybody. So
I appreciate it, guys. So that's
Wonderful.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you being on.
Yes, indeed. Thanks, man. Take care, bud.
You too.
Really, such important stuff,
Definitely. Yes, definitely. And, we do have a tree of the week coming up next.
We do.
Lori Thomas is here with us. So what are we going to be talking about today?
We've done a lot of them. So now I'm kind of reaching out a little farther. And we're doing red hickory, which, to be honest, when I was a student, we didn't even learn it as a species because it used to be considered a variety of pignut hickory. So I was really excited to dig into and learn more about this one today. So we've got coming up now is red hickory.
I'm Lori Thomas with the University of Kentucky Forestry and Natural Resources Extension, and I'm here with the tree of the week, the red hickory. Red hickory, Carya ovalis, is a deciduous tree of the walnut family, the Jugulandaceae family. It was previously treated as a variety of pignut hickory, Carya glabra variety odorata. Red hickory is also referred to as a sweet pignut hickory. It's a medium to large tree that grows about 24 to 36 inches in diameter and up to 60 to 100 feet in height. Trees tend to have a straight trunk with a dense, rounded crown. Red hickory can live 100 to 250 years of age. Red hickory is often confused with pignut and mockernut hickory. It's used as a large shade tree in large landscapes, and it's an important wildlife tree for birds, mammals, and insects. Red hickory is somewhat uncommon, but widespread throughout eastern North America. It is found scattered throughout central Kentucky, with pockets in western and eastern Kentucky, as you can see in the map. It is usually found growing on dry, well-drained, sandy upland ridges and sloped woodlands. It's classified as intermediate to intolerant of shade. And red hickory tends to have a large, deep taproot, which makes it difficult to transplant. Red hickory is deciduous with alternately arranged leaves, as you can see in the photo, that are between 8 to 12 inches long. The leaves are pinnately compound, meaning like a feather, with 5 to 9 leaflets, but most often there are just 7 leaflets. The leaflets are lance-shaped with finely serrated margins. They are green above and below, and the leaf stem is often reddish at the base, as you can see in the photo. Fall color is golden, yellow, and it's similar to other hickories. Red hickory is monoecious, meaning a tree has both male and female flowers. The male flowers are in drooping catkins that are usually 2 to 4 inches long, as you can see in the photo. The catkins are often grouped in threes. The female flowers are short, usually in clusters at the end of branches. The flowers appear in mid-spring and are wind pollinated. The fruit of red hickory is an oval-shaped nut. The nut is enclosed in an oval husk that splits into 4 sections when it matures. The fruit matures in early fall and it is dispersed by wildlife. The nuts are sweet, edible, and a favorite of wildlife. The twigs are somewhat stout, but not as stout as many of the other hickories, and they are without hairs. The leaf scars are large, 3-lobed, and somewhat heart-shaped, as you can see in the photo. They are often described as a monkey face. The terminal bud is larger than the lateral or side buds, and it's singular, rounded, and light brown in color. The bark is smooth on young trees, and as the tree ages and grows, the bark develops interlacing, shaggy-topped ridges. The bark looks similar to pignut or micronut hickory, but it's a little shaggier. The wood of red hickory is heavy, hard, and strong, like other hickories. It's reddish-brown in color and has a high thermal energy content when burned, so it's used as a fuel wood in wood-burning stoves. The wood is used for tool handles, ladder rungs, flooring, sporting equipment, and smoking meat. Red hickory, like other hickories, is an important wildlife tree. Trees provide nesting sites and food for a wide variety of birds, small mammals, and insects. It is the larval host for the Luna moth, hickory horndevil, banded hairstreak, and hickory hairstreak butterflies. Among the birds to relish the nuts are blue jays, American crow, wild turkey, bobwhite quail, and red-bellied woodpeckers. Additionally, a variety of birds that eat insects are attracted to hickory because of the large number of insects the tree attracts. Mammals that rely on hickory nuts are gray, fox, and southern flying squirrel, black bear, gray fox, raccoon, chipmunk, and white-footed and woodland deer mice. And when the bark's shaggy enough, it can provide roosting sites for some species of bats. The national champion red hickory, as of 2021, is in Caroline County, Virginia. It's 118 inches in circumference, 140 feet tall, with an 80-foot crown spread. The Kentucky champion is in Clay County in the Daniel Boone National Forest, and it's 176 inches in circumference, 170 feet tall, with a 72-foot crown spread. This discrepancy between the national champion and the Kentucky champion may be due to the date of listing of the trees, since the national list was last updated in 2021. If you'd like to know more about champion trees, check out American Forest's National Champion Trees, or check out the Kentucky Division of Forestry Champion Trees. Now for a few fun facts about red hickory. While red hickory, Carya ovalis, was previously treated as a variety of pignut hickory, Carya glabra, and some botanists still maintain that it is, red hickory can be distinguished from pignut hickory by the leaves and the bark. Red hickory usually has 7 leaflets, and pignut hickory usually has 5 leaflets, and so you can see in the photo on the top is red hickory and the photo on the bottom is pignut hickory. The bark is also another good distinguishing characteristic. The bark of red hickory tends to be shaggier on mature trees than the bark of pignut hickory on mature trees. And in the photo, red hickory is at the top, the bark is shaggier, and the photo at the bottom is pignut hickory and the bark is much tighter. The genus name Carya is from the Greek Carya, which was the name that was applied to the walnut tree. And the specific epithet ovalis is from the word ovum or ovata, which means pertaining to an egg, and most likely is in reference to the shape of the fruit. Thanks for joining me to learn about the red hickory. I hope you get the opportunity to get out into your woodland, a local park, or take a walk around your neighborhood and appreciate the wonderful trees of Kentucky.
So thank you much for doing that, Lori. We greatly appreciate it. And did you say that hickory, since you didn't study hickory, so does that mean it used to not be in Kentucky and now it is, or?
No,
Okay.
we didn't learn red hickory as a separate
Okay.
species. It was considered just
Gotcha.
a variety of pignut hickory, and we only learned in our dendrology class pignut hickory. And to be honest, as you noticed on the range map, it's not a super common tree. It's very scattered, and we don't even have it in all the counties anyway in the state. So it's scattered throughout its whole natural range and in Kentucky as well. So yeah, pretty cool. And I will say, so we're still, we've gotten through a lot of the trees so far, 80 plus. For our next tree of the week will be for our holiday season. We're going to actually do a tree that is not, we don't find it naturally in our woods, but we do plant it a lot, and that is our southern magnolia. We're doing it because it's we think of it as a Christmas decoration type tree. We use it a lot in decoration. So be on the lookout for southern magnolia in December. And while not a native tree of Kentucky, it is native to the eastern half of the United States, and it's a Christmassy type tree. So
okay, wonderful. Well, thank you again. I know we get a lot of views on these on YouTube, and we really appreciate you putting them together.
well, they're a lot of fun to do, and I enjoy it. So
No, an amazing resource. Thank you, Lori.
So Billy, a lot of good topics today. I mean, talked about extreme weather, and hopefully we don't have another extreme weather event this year, but it's not looking like we won't. And then, another tree of the week. So a really interesting show today.
Yep, it was good stuff. We appreciate Matt Dixon, our UK meteorologist, coming on and helping us out there. Appreciate all the great work they're doing, trying to keep us aware of some of these threats that might be coming weather-wise, and how we might be able to respond to them. And again, Lori, good job with those trees of the week, man. That's good stuff. And again, folks, if you haven't seen those, we have tons of those on our website or on our YouTube page. So check those out. A lot of good information and resources there for you. But thank you all for being with us. If you know of others that might appreciate this content, let them know about From the Woods Today. We try to be here every week at 11 on Wednesdays, and we'd love to increase the audience.
We would. And you can go to FromTheWoodsToday.com and see any show that we've ever done. I think there's this was the 175th show or something like that. So we've had a lot of shows on, and we have a lot of content on our YouTube channel and also on our website. So if you're a woodland owner, there's a lot of information there for you all to be able to see. So again, that's FromTheWoodsToday.com. So like Billy said, we're here every Wednesday at 11 o'clock. But until then, take care. See you next week.
Bye, everyone.
From the woods today.